knew it was coming, but an €800 million fine was still a big blow for Audi. The penalty was for violations by its larger, heavily polluting diesel engines. It means the earnings of its parent, Volkswagen, will be impacted. The German premium brand says it won't be appealing, effectively admitting responsibility for breaking regulations. Earlier this month, Volkswagen terminated the contract of Audi CEO Rupert Stadler. He's under investigation for suspected involvement in emissions cheating. In June, the Volkswagen Group received a similar €1 billion fine for oversight problems, which allowed millions of polluting cars to hit the road. News of the fine emerged as VW's chief executive issued a warning to auto parts suppliers. Herbert Diess said if German carmakers didn't transform their business to adapt supply chains and meet new regulations, they had a 50% chance of losing their lead in the auto industry. But it's not just German cars caught in the emissions scandal. Sweden's Volvo has just warned some of its truck and bus engines could be exceeding limits for nitrogen oxide emissions, sending its shares lower.
First, a meeting with Saudi Arabia's king, followed by his son, the powerful Crown Prince Mohammed bin Salman. US Secretary of State Mike Pompeo was dispatched to Riyadh Tuesday to discuss the disappearance of journalist Jamal Khashoggi, who disappeared after entering the Saudi consulate in Istanbul. The US State Department says the Crown Prince agreed Tuesday to the importance of a transparent investigation. It comes as Turkish investigators gather clues at the consulate about what exactly happened. A team of around 10 people spent the entire night inside the consulate. It's now exactly 2 weeks since Jamal Khashoggi disappeared inside. We know that it included a Turkish prosecutor and a police dog. Emerging after 9 hours, they took away soil samples and a metal door from the garden. Turkey's President Tayyip Erdogan has told reporters that the investigation is looking into toxic materials and that those materials may have been removed by, quote, painting over them. The case has provoked an international outcry against the world's top oil exporter, with media and business executives pulling out of a major investment conference next week. HSBC backed out on Tuesday, as did the CEOs of Standard Chartered and Credit Suisse, following the likes of Google and JP Morgan.
President Trump on Tuesday threatened to withdraw funding and aid from Honduras if it does not stop a large caravan of people that's heading north to the United States. Roughly 3,000 migrants crossed into Guatemala from Honduras on Monday after a standoff with police and riot gear.
There's so much corruption here in Honduras. We want to work. There is none. We need to migrate to another country.
The latest migrant caravan to draw Trump's ire was organized by Bartolo Fuentes, a former Honduran lawmaker. It's been dubbed March of the Migrant and grew into the thousands through social media. A caravan that at one point carried more than 1,000 Central Americans made headlines in April. Just over 100 wound up crossing into the U.S. to make their case for asylum. The March of the Migrants set off on Saturday.
We're asking the government of Guatemala and Mexico to open their doors so we can enter with no problems, with no motive, because we're not going to rob or kill, but we're going for a better life for all our families and ourselves.
Honduras, like many other impoverished countries in Central America, is under growing pressure from the Trump administration to do more to curb mass migration. Honduran President Juan Orlando Hernandez told Reuters last month that cuts in U.S. support for Central America would hinder efforts to stem illegal immigration, and expressed regret that prior U.S. commitments to step up investment in Honduras have been scaled back since Trump took office.
Days after Hurricane Michael slammed into the Florida Panhandle, rescue teams continued to comb through the rubble in search of victims. As of Tuesday, more than 1,000 people in the areas hit by Michael were still missing. Its fierce winds carved a path of destruction at the coast and also inland, devastating rural towns like Fountain, Florida, 30 miles north of Panama City. Reuters' Therese Sylvester is there.
Some residents in Fountain today told me that they feel like they've been almost overlooked I talked to a 40-year-old construction worker named Gabriel Shaw. Hurricane Michael tore apart the walls and roof of every room in his house except the living room. He spent, he said, 5 days sleeping on a mattress on the floor of that room until he saw the first official of any kind. That was a group of firefighters who stopped by to check on his welfare. Other residents in the Fountain area feel like they've had to fend for themselves as well. Residents of Fountain, though, told me that they don't just need drinking water. Much of the area is still without running water, of course, and electricity, and they've been trying to figure out how to bathe their children, how to wash their clothes. I talked to a woman named Joy Aguilar in Fountain who told me that she'd been bathing her 2 kids in a nearby creek, but she couldn't imagine doing that for much longer.
An estimated 85% of customers in the area around Fountain are still without electricity, and it could be weeks before it's restored.
Reuters sources say the European Union has made a preliminary decision to revoke the license of Pilatus Bank, a Maltese operation whose chairman's accused of money laundering and evading sanctions on Iran. Those accusations were first raised by the journalist Daphne Caruana Galizia, who was assassinated in a car bombing almost exactly a year ago. So why the delay? Reuters' Francesco Garasco in Brussels.
The EU response to this case and to several other cases of money laundering at other banks in other countries of the bloc has been slow. And that is mostly because simply the European Union doesn't have rules that allow regulators to intervene, too vague, and allow member states to apply them as they will. The Pilatus case has shown Malta's weakness in countering money laundering, but would be wrong to think that it's just a Maltese problem. It is indeed a European problem because money laundering is a cross-border business. Pilatus was about to open a branch in London, Europe's largest financial center, and had clients all around the world.
Reuters has found no evidence that Pilatus Bank or its chairman, Ali Sadr Hashemi-Nejad, seen here, had any connection to Caruana Galizia's death. Pilatus was one of many stories she investigated, and Sadr denies all accusations. He was arrested in the United States 6 months ago, but it's unclear how the bank has survived for so long since then, especially since Maltese authorities themselves recommended punitive action against the bank. Reuters sources have just said that there's legal hurdles without clarifying. Daphne Caruana Galizia's investigations and her death have dominated political debate in Malta for the last year. Her murder is still unsolved.